Hey guys, welcome back to the Unleashed podcast where we awaken you to your purpose, activate you into your calling, and advance the kingdom of God. I'm your host, Ryan Reger, and today we're chatting with my friend Jon Davis Jr. He and I have known each other for several years now. He was a part of the Amazon community that I was in with Jim Cockrum, an amazing community. And now he's a part of my Unleashed group, and he's just so a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and just a deep well of spiritual wisdom. And I just enjoy this conversation. He is somebody that I know that's going to be on more often because we have so much more to talk about. But in today's episode, we talked about his story, of course. I loved how he encountered the Lord. He got saved when he was 4, but essentially he said he got kind of got saved again as an adult. But the Lord made himself very real to him when he was a teenager at a conference. And then he worked with Youth with the Mission for a while, for actually a long while. And now he's the founder of Worldwide Awakening Ministries. We had a great conversation about the kingdom, about revival versus reformation, about what unleashed means to him, a little bit about the end times, kind of teed up another episode that we're probably going to do very soon. This is a fantastic episode. I learned a ton from him. I know you're going to enjoy it. Here it is. Jon, welcome to Unleashed. It's so good to have you, man.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Finally, you're a guest. I'm so glad we got it worked out because like I said before we hit record, I feel like you're going to be a guest more often with some of the things we're going to be talking about because it's we can talk about what unleashing means from your point of view. But first, I love hearing people's stories. I know your story, but my audience doesn't. So tell me about you.
Well, that's going to be fun. Hope I'll try not to take the whole time.
Right.
But no, it's not that hard. My mom, I used to have a hard time telling like my testimony, which I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but the thing that gave me the breakthrough, and this might even help someone who's trying to figure out their own testimony, is when I realized that the only way to tell my testimony was to look at my mother. Because it is my mother that led me to Jesus when I was 4.
Wow.
We were sitting on a big brown lazy boy type chair. It was Dad's chair, but Dad wasn't home, so we were sitting in it. And I don't remember this. My mother told me, and she led me to Jesus. And there's been signs my whole life that was real.
Yes.
The strange side note is I developed all my problems already being a Christian. So there was no become a Christian and deal with your problems. I grew in the Lord and in my issues after being saved when I was 4. But my mother my mother dedicated me to Jesus when I was 1.
Yep.
At a Wesleyan church.
Mm-hmm.
She got saved when I was 1.5 years old.
Wow.
So she got saved after she dedicated me to Christ. She watched Planet of the Apes and got so scared that it led her. I don't even remember the whole story, but that led her to Jesus.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my dad didn't get saved till I was in my 20s, but so I grew up in a house. My dad was not hostile though to my mother putting us in Christian schools, me and my brother and sister. And being raised in the church. My dad didn't usually go, but we were raised in church. So I learned a lot going to a private Christian school. In fact, when I was a young adult, I was often the smartest guy in the room because of everything I learned in Christian school. Then the homeschoolers started coming along to keep me humble. So homeschool led past private Christian school by far. Meeting people that speak Latin and can quote all sorts of stuff from the founding fathers, like, whoa. But when I was in high school and college, I went through a severe bout of depression. And a lot of it was surrounding my faith. Some people challenged me. Well, how do you know yours is right and true? And how do you know it's not Buddhism or Islam or something else? So that would be another great conversation. But the short version is various people that I asked handed me books and I read them all. I read The Resurrection Factor by Josh McDowell. Wow. I read a debate with Gary Habermas and Anthony Flew about the resurrection. I read a lot of Francis Schaeffer and I became convinced it was all true.
Yeah.
However, and this is probably the crux of my story. This is my adult conversion, if you will.
Yeah.
Not that you can be converted twice, but when you get saved when you're 4, it's like you need an adult one too.
Right.
Is I still, when people would ask me, do you believe this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, I am 99% sure, or 99.99, and I'm putting all my chips on that spot.
Yeah.
But inside, I had kind of that wasn't enough for me. Intellectual wasn't enough. It's important, but it wasn't enough. So then somewhere after that, I went into kind of a depression and just crying out to God. I used to just pray in the middle of the night, not because I was super spiritual, because I was desperate. God, I could tell you all the ways God made me a desperate man. But I would sit in my dad's blue pickup truck in various parking lots late at night, just praying, and I would say, God, I want to see you. I want to see you face to face. And I was like not being poetic or symbolic. I'm like, no, I want you to show up in my truck here.
Yes.
And I often joke now it's a good thing he didn't, because there would probably be a melty spot in that parking lot. Right. And the truck will be gone. And
yes.
But at the end of this season, it was pretty long. It was several years of desperation, still believing, still pursuing God, but just filled with this kind of, I wasn't racked with intellectual doubt. It was heart doubt. I don't know what else to call it, but heart doubt, inner man doubt. I wanted something more. I was at a youth convention in the end of 1990, the beginning of 1991, which interestingly was a missions youth convention.
Okay.
Lauren Cunningham, the founder of Youth with a Mission, was one of the guest speakers. So I heard a lot of his story and his call to missions. I didn't know that was going to suck me into the Youth with the Mission vortex at the time. Or YWAM, for you who don't know, YWAM, short. For the rest, I'll try and just say YWAM. But there was an altar call for something. I think it was like moral purity or something like that. And, being a young man, what young man shouldn't go forward in the altar call if someone says, do you need your thoughts cleaned up, right?
Right.
I think that's what it was for, but that's not what happened. I went forward in this altar call. Yeah. And I was just looking up into the rafters, and wham, God hit me in a powerful way. And I was changed in more ways than I knew. I felt like I was looking into his eyes. I didn't have a vision.
Yeah.
A little bit of an imagination of kind of some eyes up there, not spooky or creepy, but not like a vision, but it had the power of one.
Yeah.
And then they were singing this song, I have a destiny. I know I shall fulfill. I have a destiny on that city on a hill. So this was the whole theme of the conference, and missions, and go every day. A map of the world would come down, and I hope I got this right. And the word "go" on each side, huge, would come down on the stage.
Wow.
So that was the challenge, was to go. And God spoke to me about going to Russia. At least I believe it was God speaking, and I still think it was. So just to skip a bunch, I was sitting at a campus table at Northern Illinois University in Illinois, and my friend was like an evangelism table. This has to do with what God did at that conference that I didn't even know that he did. But depression was gone. I was high as a kite on my own destiny and vision and purpose and calling.
Yes.
My friend was arguing with a couple of atheists, and I was just kind of looking at him. And then he said, "What do you think, John?" And I got involved, and I was kind of winning. If you can really win those conversations. Yeah. I knew more. It's that simple. I knew more arguments. I knew more stuff, and I was countering. And at one point, they said, I remember I told them, I think it's more likely that you don't exist than that God doesn't exist.
Wow.
With them right there.
Awesome.
And they started doing the thing that people do when they're losing. They said, you need to speak with our professor. We need to get our professor. And I thought about it, and this was the moment of revelation of what God had done. I said, your professor is probably smarter than me. He probably knows more history than me. He might even know more Bible than me, because some atheists do. Sure. He might talk circles around me. And I think it was at this point that I actually said, but I think it's more likely that you don't exist than that God doesn't exist because I have encountered him.
Mm,
And that was the moment I realized the doubts, the heart doubts are gone. They're gone. I have not had heart doubts since. I may have heart doubts about my relationship with God or what God is doing or why he isn't doing A or B or whatever I want.
yeah.
But as far as his existence and the general, Christian system of reality,
Wow.
I have no doubt at all inside. I'm almost incapable of it.
Yeah.
And caution for listeners, I don't think it would be fair for me to put that on everybody, that's going to be everybody's story.
Mhm.
There may be some people who have some form of doubts for their whole life, but they're still faithful to God. Just got to throw that out there. I'm not
Sure.
putting a
Sure.
formula. It's what I needed. It's what God needed to do in me so I could do what I was called to
So
do.
good.
And to skip ahead some more, I had felt at that conference like I was supposed to go to Russia. And here, this is the unspirituality of God's guidance. Teen mania, I could go to Russia for like 2 weeks for $4,000. Or I could go out to Youth with a Mission in Salem, Oregon for about $1,900 for 2 months
Uh-huh.
of class and outreach and all that. It was, or no, 5 months actually.
Yeah.
So I ended up in my two-tone tan Chevrolet Cavalier. We were talking about in the Unleashed group.
Yes.
1985, driving out to the West Coast, Illinois, corn-fed, cornfield boy. Absolutely. I'd been out west with my family on a vacation, and I'd been beautifully haunted by it ever since. So I went out to Oregon, fell in love with God, and I feel like I can race through this part because there's endless stories. But for fifth, I went for that program, a YWAM discipleship training school. I came back for about a year. Then I went back to Youth with a Mission, and I was in Youth with a Mission for 15 years.
Wow.
That led me to about 17-ish nations. I can never remember. I have to count them, taking young people all over the world, enjoying seeing Americans encounter cultures all over the world.
Yeah.
And at the end of that season, I felt like I was supposed to teach in these schools. Prepare to teach had been what I felt was the word of the Lord. And to make a long story short, it wasn't going to be possible for me to be in the leadership position I was in and do this. There's too many things pulling away. So I stepped out, created Worldwide Awakening Ministries, and I have been teaching in YWAM schools and also adjacent. More and more, there's a church here that has a former YWAMer, a ministry there, and it's just growing. And I teach all over the world, and I was traveling for a while, but since COVID, I've mostly done it like this. So I don't know what the future holds there. But there you go. That's my story. So right now, I am a traveling Bible teacher, either digitally or sometimes physically, with a focus on India. For strategic reasons. I do like Indian food, but that's not why. It's strategic.
Me too.
and strategic and reaching the world.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Why I want to focus in on what you said, that you said at the table in Northern Illinois University that you've encountered him. And I feel like that's an invitation for everybody. Now, their experience may not look exactly like yours. It may be different, but he is encounterable. He wants to be encountered. That hit me because that's so good. I mean, and you were hungry and he found his way to you or made a pathway for you to encounter him like you did. I don't know why it took so long. Like, why didn't you, feel the manifest presence in your truck? I don't know. Maybe because you would have been that grease stain a parking lot. For whatever reason, it was at that conference, but that's so powerful. And I would just tell people, like, if you're hungry, God's gonna show himself to you in some way. Oh.
Well, I was in Bible school once, not like a traditional one, a Youth with a Mission version.
Yeah.
And we had a guy come in and he was talking about all this theology and which things were salvific. I'd never heard that word, salvific.
Salvific, me either.
He was like, these are the ideas or theological ideas that are essential for salvation.
Yes.
And here's me, and I'm going to stick my neck out. I don't know if I'll get smacked around by the world for this, but I think my salvific theology, if that's the right way to say it, is actually when someone encounters Jesus and believes.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be even remotely like my encounter. I
right.
think it's possible for someone to barely know they've had an encounter, but
Hmm.
something happens where they understand about Jesus imperfectly, because we all have it, and then they believe. And it's
Yes.
that faith that saves you and changes you. And I would even stretch that into the past before the cross,
Hmm.
because he was crucified before the foundation of the world, right?
Yes.
But even like how did Abraham get saved? He
Mm.
believed in
He believed
Jesus.
God and was credited to him as righteousness, right?
He didn't know the name Jesus, but it was the same thing. He encountered, and he might have literally encountered Jesus. A lot of these guys had
Yeah.
these figures that they met.
Hmm.
But how did Adam and Eve get saved? Assuming they were, I think they were. They encountered Jesus. I mean, that's it. You encounter Jesus and you believe.
Yeah.
It's supernatural. It includes up here
Hmm.
the ideas of the kingdom and the ideas of salvation, but it's really an interperson interaction. So there you go. Theologians, send me a message. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I love it.
But
I feel like we're going to
this
have
is
a
what
lot
I
of,
see as the core. This is the
we're going to
core
probably
of
talk
what it
about a
is.
lot of things when you're on these episodes that we're going to have to say, theologians, send me an
Give me a
email if
call.
you,
I like to learn or learn how to say it better.
right? I love it. Tell me, Worldwide Awakening Ministries, what's that all about? What do you feel called to do with that?
In 2000, when I was still in YWAM, possibly before, but I know I did it in 2000. I was working on as maybe part of an assignment or
Okay.
something.
Uh-huh.
What's your life vision? And I'd been in 2000. I'd already been in YWAM for 8 years or so, and I ended up with to inspire, disciple, and mobilize the next generation of Christian leaders to fall in love with God and to find and fulfill their roles in worldwide awakening. That's the way I wrote it then.
Mm,
Sometimes I say it revival and reformation because people don't know what I mean by worldwide awakening.
mm-hmm.
Uh, but when I was younger, there was a little bit more emphasis on the revival,
Yeah.
and I still believe in that. But as I've gotten older, the disciple the nations part
Yes.
is the reformation of everything. So I'm still into revival,
Yeah.
but I'm also into reformation. So Worldwide Awakening Ministries is primarily about me teaching, sometimes my wife teaching, and creating resources
Mm-hmm.
for the purpose of inspiring people about the kingdom and about
Mm-hmm.
missions,
Mm-hmm.
discipling, equipping them in various ways, and then getting them sent, figuring
Yeah.
out how to get them to wherever the next step is.
So
And
good.
mostly I do this by talking.
Hmm.
So I used to do in Youth with a Mission, I ran a program, a six
Yeah.
month discipleship training school to do it. And then I think God may do something like that eventually. So if you
Yeah.
hear this and you want to go to a school like that, send me a message so I can
That's
see if I can
awesome. I love
maybe
it.
20 people call up, we'll do it. But
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to
Yes.
get
Well,
back to that. But this stage is mostly about me talking, writing, podcasting, things like that.
yeah. Yeah. Tom, what's the difference between revival and reformation?
Well, my difference, I don't know. A long time ago, I heard this and I kind of believed it. I've never really studied it, but
Mm-hmm.
the words work. It works to communicate an idea. Revival is like the church coming back to life.
Mm-hmm.
It's revived. You're not being
Yep.
vived. You're being revived. You've already been alive. The church has already been alive, and it's maybe dead or backslidden or dull or whatever. So revival is like happens in the church when the body of
Yep.
Christ comes to life.
Yep.
And then that overflows into wherever the church is, into bringing people into the church. I still kind of call that revival.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
People are getting born again, coming into the church. And then reformation usually starts in the church. The church itself reforms and changes and figures out,
Mm-hmm.
we don't need to have a smoke machine or whatever, whatever it is.
Sure.
All the leadership changes, all sorts of things happen. There's repeated movements throughout history of we're going to get back to the early church. Everybody's always trying to do that.
Yes.
So it's reformation, and then that overflows into society. Society itself starts to get reformed. So
Yeah.
revival, spiritual, reviving for the church and drawing in people. Reformation, the church, and then the society follows it in change.
That's
And
so,
then I am adding a third one beyond your question, which is
yeah.
why I always use the word awakening.
Uh-huh.
Like awakening is when there's just a broad, massive cultural shift,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we have historical events that we
Yes.
call the Great Awakening, the Second Great Awakening. That's where it isn't just a great move for the history books. It's like the lawyers change, the judges change, the businessmen change, the names of cities change. I don't know if that really happened, but you know what I mean? Just it's
Sure.
like a sweeping culture wide, maybe in a nation or a region.
Mm.
That really happens. That stuff really happens. So that's why I
Yes.
picked Awakening, because
Yeah.
I feel like that absorbs revival and reformation. But
So it's
sometimes I say revival and reformation
bigger
because
than a
people know.
reformation. The awakening's bigger than a reformation.
You could say it's bigger than, or it's a reformation times 1,000. I mean,
Wow.
so I guess the way I'm using it, it's like the Reformation overflowing to the point where the whole culture goes through
Mm.
something other than a minor shift, not
Yeah.
just a minor shift. It's like a
Yes.
major. But
Yeah.
honestly, though, some people times we use the word Reformation that way. The
Uh-huh.
Protestant Reformation, that would have been
Right.
maybe an awakening in my mind.
Okay. Okay.
So the differences in the words are just the way I heard it that one time, and it affected the way I thought. But you could
Yeah.
probably use them interchangeably
That's
too.
so good.
So
Interesting. Do you feel like we're about to enter or are entering another great awakening?
I think it's possible. I mean, it's hard to know
Hmm.
because if we're both old and in our rocking chairs, we might know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I have hope that we are,
Uh-huh.
um, but I just don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been signs of rumbling on the horizon. The
Hmm.
cloud the size of a hand
Yep.
that like Elijah's servant saw, or
Yeah.
whoever was it, Elijah, her servant saw coming.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I see it as
Yeah.
a distinct possibility,
Hmm.
but I also know, in my opinion, and I'm not sure God is concerned with that, my opinion
Hmm.
at all. But in my opinion, I'm not 100% sure the church is ready.
Mm.
Um, but I could be wrong, and I think it's worldview and kingdom stuff. We
Hmm.
have escaped from the culture.
Yeah.
Not
Mm.
everyone, not 100%. There's not a judgment on anyone, but there's been a move towards we need to worry about spiritual things and not
Yeah.
about worldly things.
Yes. Yes.
That worldview is limiting in the area of reformation.
Yeah. Wow.
Because if we don't do a Christian reformation and awakening, the enemies of God will do their reformation
Hmm.
and awakening,
Yep.
which is exactly what has happened in
Makes
America.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Christians pulled back from our reformation and awakening and said, it's the end of the world.
Right.
Come, Lord Jesus. And the
Wow.
secularists and others stepped in and said, all right, don't worry, Christians, we got this.
Hmm. Mm. You know how when you buy a new car or something and you say, like let's say, for example, you get a brand new, what was your two-tone Chevy that you had, Chevy
Two-tone
Cavalier?
tan. Two-tone tan.
Okay, so when you bought that car, maybe I don't know if it's like, but a lot of people talk about how you start to see, like if you get a red car, you start to see red cars all over the place, or you buy a new Tesla, you start to see Teslas all over the place. I don't know what this unleashed message, if it's just that. I think it's called cognitive dissonance or something, maybe. Is that right?
Cognitive dissonance with an N.
Okay.
Dissonance. Cognitive
Dissonance. Okay.
dissonance.
With the unleashed message, but I'm hearing more and more people talk about the unleashed message, the same thing that's on my heart, and that's a good thing. I don't know if again it's just me now that I'm diving into this, learning more about it, and embracing this call that's on my life to unleash believers. If that's just because now I'm in it and now I hear it more, or really if there's a more of a in God is emphasizing that more and raising up other people like me to talk about this. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like this is a more of a bigger thing that we're a part of, or is this just me seeing it more because I'm talking about it all the time?
Well, I think it could be both, but
Mhm.
I have noted, like when I first started realizing the kingdom is broader than individual salvations,
Mm.
and going to church.
Yeah.
Because those are important. Don't let anyone ever hear me saying that those are vitally important, essential, absolutely important. But I a long time ago started. It was studying the whole Bible in
Mm.
2002, actually, where I
Yeah.
started to realize, wow, God sure seems to be concerned about everything.
Yeah.
I have felt at first I felt like I was talking to a wall. I'm like, get over the end times obsession. Let's get into discipling the nations. And it was like a wall. But it seems like there is a general shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually had people, when I tell them, some people are just waiting for the end of the world. They're like, what? Who's that?
Mm.
And I'm like, wow, you mean, because I've had people just straight up say it.
Yeah.
Just say it to me, like, why are you working on reformation
Mm.
when the world is just going to end anyway? I've had maybe mostly older people, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Not all older people, just so that shift
Yeah.
seems to be happening. And that to me would be at least indirectly or partially related. Because if you, like, I believe you have a broader view of Unleashed maybe than my focus of Inspire, Disciple, and Mobilize.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start moving away from escape, either we're going to escape when we go to heaven or we're going to escape when Jesus comes, towards let's disciple the nations,
Mm-hmm.
people's minds are going to change and they're going
Yeah.
to want to figure out what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
Oh, I'm supposed to do something more. So they're going to need to be unleashed.
Mm.
So it's what I feel like maybe is a general shift. I don't know how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is the end of the world. People have started to push back, but it seems like there's a general shift towards let's disciple the nations instead of obsessing about the end of the world,
Mm.
knowing that God's got that all sorted, and He didn't tell
Right.
us to be worried about that.
Yeah.
So I realize I probably stole your question and
No, no,
talked
it's
about
good.
my own thing there, but I guess what I'm saying is, to me, that would create, if that shift really happens,
Mm-hmm.
people, young people, all old people, everybody's going to be like, well, what do I do then?
Yeah.
Even if they don't say that consciously, like, what do I do? They're going to need to be directed and unleashed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
I guess that was sort of a yes. I do think there's a general thing happening.
Yeah.
And I think there's some theological roots to it. There's a shift,
Mm-hmm.
a slight shift. Even some of the people, and I don't have any specific people in mind, the ideas is what I'm thinking of, that are still kind of, it's the end of the world,
Mm-hmm.
even some of them are realizing, but we're supposed to occupy till he comes.
Right.
I think
Yes.
I suppose think we're supposed to do more than occupy till he comes. I think we're supposed to conquer and win everything that God will give us until he
Yes.
comes.
Yes.
More than
Yes.
occupy. But occupy till he comes is better than hide out until he comes. So it's a
Yeah.
step in the right direction.
Mm.
So I sort of answered your question. I
Yeah.
sort of
No,
went
this
off
is perfect. That was
another
great.
direction. So
Yeah. 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 Man, I know we could so many directions we could go. When you hear the word unleash, what does that mean to you? Your message of inspire, disciple, and mobilize is very parallel to what's on my heart with unleashing. And what I say is awaken people to their purpose, activate them into their calling, and advance the kingdom of God is kind of what I've come down. And there's so many different ways to express that, but those are the three that I've been talking about the most. So it's awaken, activate, and advance. But your inspire, disciple, and mobilize is very similar.
yeah,
And that's why I think we get along. And it's I love seeing other people that have the same message, and you've had it longer than I've had this. So, um, but what does unleash mean to you? What does that look like to you? Just I love hearing different views of it.
I mean, having observed kind of what you are doing, I can't help but interpret it a little bit through that.
Hmm.
Is it? It seems like there's an emphasis on people who know they're supposed to do something and helping them get there.
Yes. Yeah. For
Maybe
sure.
not, and maybe you will have this emphasis later, but not so much an emphasis on challenging people that have no direction to get one. More like
Right.
these people go, and that's just an observation. So
Sure.
unleashing it seems to be, at least for now, to be taking people that have this sense I'm supposed to do something. I'm supposed to have a business, or I'm supposed to be in ministry, or I'm
Yeah.
supposed to write a book or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and getting them unstuck.
Yes.
That's like the unleashed is another way of saying unstuck. It just the
Ah, so
unleashed
true.
sounds more like you're going somewhere. The unstuck sounds more like you're just getting detached from whatever's holding you.
Right.
But it's like getting people unstuck from their
Yeah.
own mindset,
Yeah.
their fears, their doubts that they can really do anything, imposter syndrome, and getting them to go.
Mm-hmm.
Start going, whatever it is, start to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So that would involve, well, there you go. That's what I see you doing.
Yes.
I would say that it must involve either whether you personally do it or other people that come along. It's going to have to involve people getting unstuck in their spiritual life,
Mm-hmm.
unleashed spiritually. So it's like, I think you seem to be a little more unleashed in your calling, but that will have to have unleashed in your spiritual life
Absolutely.
and in your
Yes.
beliefs and in your faith. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't believe you have anything to say
Right.
or do,
Very true.
or you're struggling with massive addiction or
Right.
whatever. So I don't think that's primarily what we're about at Unleash, but it's a required part
Yes.
that someone would have to have some measure of not fullness, not everything, not perfection, just some
Mm-hmm.
measure of spiritual freedom, emotional and
Mm-hmm.
mental freedom,
Yes, for sure.
ultimately leading to liberty and movement and action and
Mm-hmm.
fruitfulness in what you're supposed to be doing, finding
Yes.
your purpose.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. Where do you feel like your inspire, disciple, and mobilize fits into all that?
Well, I want to be unleashed more in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it fits in that I'm receiving.
Yeah.
I'm being around people who believe in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have been for a while now, and I think I got this idea from Jim Cockrum and Rabbi Lappin and
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
and I know Dave Ramsey has famously said some things about this. I've been trying to be around people who have ambition and are going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Not like ambition in the movies, like, to heck with everyone else, run them over to get what I want, but the healthy kind, a
Yes.
desire to do something. I
Mm.
have a hard time relating to someone who has no sense of I have a desire to do something. I'm not putting them down,
Yeah.
but I have a hard time relating. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I thought everyone was like that, but apparently some people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So I am involved with Ryan's Unleashed group, and just being around people who are trying to go there and trying to fulfill their purpose. That is, so you have an involvement with me there, and then
Mm-hmm.
however the Lord leads me to give in any
Yeah.
way that will. I definitely have a bent towards missions and societal reformation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I teach my students, I don't teach them that's the only thing, but I might be able to help bring some emphasis on, how does this actually change society?
Yeah. Mm.
And how do we get people to the scary places, the unreached places, the places where there's nobody working or a few people working.
Yes.
So those two things are probably an emphasis
Yeah.
that I may help bring to the
That's so
table.
good.
Not that it isn't already there, just we all have
Yeah.
our little flavor. You got different spices. Some of them even taste similar.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
we need it all.
Yes. So good. When you're doing the teaching, I know you have you have specific courses, and you did a fabulous job in our Unleashed community on those 3 Saturdays in a row. But what's your main message to these students as you're teaching them?
Well, my topic title has slightly changed one word at a time over the years.
Yeah.
I used to just call it the foundations of a biblical Christian worldview.
Okay.
Because I'm actually, most of my teaching has been teaching missionary candidates that are in training
Okay.
to be missionaries. So they need to understand their own worldview, a Christian worldview, and they also need to be able to, in some way, grasp the people's worldview, the people that they're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been teaching the students before and had them say, wow, for the first time, I don't feel like my Hindu neighbors are crazy.
Mm,
Because from a animistic Hindu worldview, the crazy thing they're doing makes perfect sense.
yeah.
And no, I'm not saying all religions are true. I just mean if you can get into their mind, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. I see why that would be important, or why
Yeah.
this you would do this. So that was for a long time the emphasis. I still do that, but I'm
Hmm.
drifting more and more. I want to change it to something like the foundations of a biblical Christian worldview of the kingdom or something like
Mm,
that. Because
yeah.
I keep getting more and more like I'm actually wanting to teach them about how the kingdom manifests in the earth.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want them to be able to discern the worldviews and figure
Uh-huh.
out even I try and teach them how to get out of the Bible,
Yep.
how they should see the world. We read through Genesis 1, 2, and 3 together sometimes if I have
Mm-hmm.
time and just talk through. Do you realize all these foundations that are here?
Mm-hmm.
But then I want to go the next step, which is what do you do about this? And
Yes.
what are Christians supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And this is where the emphasis on um, don't be obsessing about trying to calculate who is the Antichrist and when the end is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Get your sword and your shield and attack
Yeah.
the devil, not people, the
Yes.
devil
Yes. Yes.
and his structures and foundations and go out there. So, Christian, I used to also teach on the character and nature of God as a
Uh-huh.
whole topic for a week, and prayer was another one I did. But I've more and more emphasized this because I see it as I see Christians in America and in India too. They don't actually really see the world fully through a Christian lens.
Mm.
They're not, and they don't know it. There are other things infesting their worldview, and they don't know it, and they need to learn it. And I also see an escapism of various kinds in the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either escape by everything spiritual, which prayer and all those things are all good. It's
Mm-hmm.
rough because I always feel like I have to keep repeating. I'm not against these things. I'm
Sure.
pulling on the I'm pulling on the pendulum.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't swing in both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so this is a long answer to the question, what is your topic? But this is why I've gotten more and more into. I want to yank people out of their false worldviews
Mm-hmm.
and help them begin a lifelong process of cleaning up their worldview. I'm still in it myself.
Yeah.
And then getting them to see what God is trying to do in the world
Yeah.
and that this world matters in some mysterious way, even eternally. I know I
Yes.
send me your messages, theologians, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the deepest theologians will be like, absolutely, you're right. I don't know. But that like this, what we're
Yeah.
doing now sure seems to be important to God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, 8 trillion years in eternity is more important. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, why didn't you hear about Jesus? Thank you, Lord. I give my life to you. I repent of my sins. Phew. Why don't you just
Mm-hmm.
gone then? What's the
Yes.
point?
Exactly.
Our training, and there's something we're supposed to do here. We're building something here.
Yes.
Multi-generational manifestation. And at some point, in some ways this has already happened, but at some point it's going to be the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our God.
Mm.
The kingdoms of this world
Yeah.
have become the kingdoms of our God and of his Christ.
Mm.
So, worldview, understanding of Christian worldview and the others, and then moving towards a thinking of kingdom and dominion instead of any kind of the various forms of escape. There you go.
That's
Long
so
answer.
good. When we were in church a couple weeks ago, the guy there was a guest speaker, and and I thought of you, and I wrote this down. I don't know if I mentioned this when you spoke in the Unleashed group last week or not, but he says the gospel is the redemption of the rhythm that was broken in Genesis 3. And he was talking about how Adam and Eve used to walk with God in the cool of the day, and the garden was awesome. It was amazing. And then they sinned, and then sin came in, and that there was a relationship that was broken. And so the whole gospel is not just basically, I mean, you could have been up there agreeing with him on stage because I just really thought of you, is that we think the gospel is let's get saved and go to heaven. And it absolutely is. But it's also the redemption of what God had before, what was there before, and how everything was harmonious. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on that? And is that's I know that's a big part of your message. Is it's not just about us getting saved and going to heaven, that there's purpose here on the earth, and he wants to restore that.
Now, one of the things I've argued with some of my friends about is because they will say, the gospel is just about, believe and be saved.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, so why did Jesus say the gospel of the kingdom?
Mm.
The good news of the kingdom. Like, I like to, so yes, by the way, yes, everything you said. But the gospel includes individual salvation.
Mm-hmm.
But the real good news is peace on earth, goodwill towards men.
Mm-hmm.
God has sent Jesus to be the king of the nations.
Yeah.
He is right now, by the way. There's an increasing manifestation of that going on, but he sent, as my friend Dean used to say, we're not here to take cover, we're here to take over.
Mm.
Which is not primarily a political message. It's
Right.
primarily everything message, which I suppose includes that, but
Yeah.
through service. So I think I lost the question as I was ranting there.
There was not really. I guess the question more was just that I seen there was a lot of parallels in what he was talking about in the message to what I've heard you talk
Yes.
about. And just
Restore the garden. Restore the garden.
restore.
And I actually have all these brands in my mind.
Uh-huh.
And if I ever found, nobody steal this, I form my officially Spread the Garden LLC or Inc. is one of
Yes.
the ones I've thought of because the original purpose has been restored.
Mm.
Not only are we saved and we go to heaven, but just like you said, the reason God did all this before they ate the fruit
Mm-hmm.
is still there,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's still to be fulfilled, and it's still our job. We had a job. I used to always hear that God just wants us to sit on His lap. He's our Father. We definitely need times like that, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
However, we're not only about gooey love. We have a job. Even
Yeah.
before the fall,
Yeah.
it was be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it.
Yes.
I like to call that spreading the Garden of Eden to the whole world.
So good.
That's still true. And so when you get born again, you're going to heaven now, but you've also joined the revolution.
Okay, let me ask you this. I've never even thought about this before, but let's pretend Adam did not sin and nobody after him sinned. What was what were they supposed to do then? Was they just like go make the Garden of Eden bigger? Were they just supposed to go and plant more seeds? Like let's pretend the Garden of Eden was 50 square miles. Was their job then to make it 100, then 150, and then 200 square? Like, I've never really thought about this, so just asking a question totally off the top of my head.
Well, I think about it all the time.
Okay, and I'm sure you have. That's why I'm asking you, because you probably
I
have
think about
thought
it
about this.
exactly like that. I mean, it's hard to know exactly, but we can take what God said. They were supposed to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth.
Yeah.
So the only answer to that is yes. And I believe, I don't know if I can prove this because it's hard to know what would have happened with like technology,
Sure.
because we have advanced technology because of the gospel, but we've also tainted.
Sure.
It's tainted by sinful nature of man. I think they were going to subdue the earth. They were going to literally fill the earth by having babies and grandbabies, and they would have to keep spreading out so
Yep.
they'd have a place to live.
Right.
And their children need their place to take dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have been figuring out how to make the trees grow better, figuring out how to make the fruit more interesting. They would have developed culinary arts. They would have found things in the earth, and they would have been scientists way smarter than us.
Yes.
Because there's
Yes.
no sin.
Yeah.
And they would have been still work. They still would have been working, and who knows what they would have invented.
Right.
Maybe eventually God would have come down and said, now that there's 350 billion of you living on the earth in flourishing prosperity,
Uh-huh.
those rockets you've been using to explore this solar system just for fun,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to show you a new planet. We're going to take, this is not theology.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
Not teaching everyone gets their own planet. I'm just saying that's the way my mind works. Is yes, they were to expand, fill. I believe just by looking at the nature of the way God made humans, and then imagining that without sin,
Mm,
They would have made their lives better and better. They would have
yeah.
made each other's lives better and better.
They would have
Maybe
would
they
have
would
gone
have
to the moon a whole lot earlier.
maybe they would have dug into the moon and colonized it. I mean, who knows? I mean,
Right.
that's not revealed, so it's hard to know. But at
Sure.
least on the earth, they would have spread the
Yeah,
paradise
that's so good.
all over it with
Mm,
people flourishing
yeah.
all over the world
Yeah.
without any sin or death.
Yeah.
And it would have been beautiful, and it's going to be anyway,
Yeah.
because even though they sinned, God was like, "Don't you all worry." Well, we're supposed to worry sometimes, but I got this.
Got a plan.
I have a plan before the foundation of the world. We're going to get there anyway.
Yes. That's so
So
good.
we're still heading there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're on the path.
Mm, that's awesome. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. I feel like again, I'm going to have you on more often because we could go into. Well, do you want to tease us with? Because this will be a good setup for another episode. Um, we had a great discussion when you were here in town over breakfast about end time stuff. Um, So what are your thoughts on the end times? And that is a little bit different than how most people have been taught, especially when you read the books like, was it Hal Lindsey, Late Great Planet Earth? And that's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I mean,
I
I'm
read
about
that
the
as
same age as you, I think. I was born in 75. And so my grandfather was he was a Quaker minister. He was big into reading about the end times. And it's always fascinated me. And I really only thought that there was. Now I know there's all different times when people believe. If you believe in the rapture, is it before the tribulation, middle, or after, or when the? I know there's like varying views on that, but I did not know until even just a couple of years ago that there was even different views on even the word rapture itself. I thought what Hal Lindsey said was what was going to happen, because also listening to my grandfather, but you have a different view, and a lot of other people I respect also have had a different view, and I've been learning about that different view. So why don't you talk about that for a few minutes, because that'll probably tee up another episode for us.
Oh yeah, I have been developing how I express it,
Uh-huh.
because I got there through a different path.
Mm,
I didn't get there by going to a Bible school and being taught a certain eschatology. I was raised with what we commonly call the dispensational premillennial,
uh-huh.
Left Behind series. Hal Lindsey. That whole the common to me, it's the common one in America.
Yes.
That's what I was raised to believe. That was what was around me. But I started I started seeing this themes in the Bible about dominion and conquering and winning and expanding. And I read Daniel's prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
I read how Jesus showed up and said, "The time is fulfilled. It's time for Daniel's prophecies," is how I interpret that. And I just was like, I don't know how to fit this eschatology into the Bible.
Mm,
So I'm not even talking about sorting through when is the millennium,
sure.
when is the rapture. So the eschatology that's developing in my life puts all of the things that everybody focuses on in eschatology as secondary, minor,
Mm,
and it doesn't change whatever those are. So I have leanings in the traditional debates. I mean, the people that most tend to think the way I do call themselves post-millennialists, if you want to look that up.
okay.
I have no idea if I don't know if I'm a millennialist at all, or if I even care when exactly it is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the kingdom has come and we're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And then at some point, as far as I can tell, Jesus is going to come here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's coming when everything's really bad. I think he's coming when this stage of history is complete.
Mm,
When we've won.
yeah.
He's already won, but when it's fully manifest in us, I
Mm,
don't even know how far that goes.
yeah.
I don't know if there'll be people. I mean, there's a passage in Isaiah somewhere that talks about someone dying when they're 100 was a young person.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how far God's going to let us get, positively speaking. But
Mm,
my main eschatology is we're supposed to advance the kingdom here on earth.
yes.
And then we go off into the eternal adventure. And possibly, if I understand correctly, at some point we're coming back here with Jesus. We're coming back here.
Yeah. Which was wild.
Hello?
Right?
Yeah, it's like nobody seems to notice that. But
Yeah.
there you go. I don't know if that's a good teaser or
No,
not.
that's great.
I focus in a very different direction. And I I learned all the pre-millennial, amillennial, post-millennial, trying to explain what I was seeing in the Bible.
Yeah.
But then I went in certain directions for a while, and eventually I started going like, if you just don't know when the millennium is at all, everything I believe about eschatology, which really isn't just about the end of the world, it's about where things are going.
Yeah.
Where are we going? It all stays the same.
Yep.
So there's my teaser if anyone wants to hear more.
I kind of come down to the fact that, and honestly, to me, maybe of this the right way to express this, but it honestly doesn't matter so much. I don't want my view of it to taint how I live. I want to go all out. I want to be unleashed. I want to do what God's called me to do. I don't want to have this view that the rapture is going to come next week, so I'm just going to pack it in and chill. Like, I want to occupy till he comes, like you said. So whether it's next week, tomorrow, or 20 years from now, or 100 years from now, I want to do my job. And so,
how about 1,000 years from now?
Exactly. And so a lot of times I've heard people that believe, like, let's escape this evil, awful world. They're not occupying, they're just hanging out. They're existing. And that's what I don't want. And that's a big part of Unleash, is to those people that sense, whether it doesn't matter what you believe about the end times, it's you have this sense inside of you that God's wanting you to do something. I want to unleash you to go do that thing. So, but the end times, how you believe probably does affect how, if you should even be unleashed. God's going to come back next year. This world's going to burn up. And so what's the bother? Well, I don't want people to have that view.
It's often been said, you don't want to polish the brass on a sinking ship.
That's right. So true.
How about we don't sink the ship? There we go.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Well, I have you back on to talk about that, and we could dig in. One of the things I would want to ask you about too, since you're a kingdom guy, is Matthew 6:33, and seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And so I understand what the kingdom of heaven is, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what is the kingdom in context of that verse. What does that specific verse mean? And seeking, how do we seek it? So we can talk about that as well too, because I think that'll be a great discussion. So you're on for at least 2 more episodes, I think. Probably more.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And we'll see where I'll be in my background, what adventure I'll be on.
I love it. Well, thank you, sir, for being on with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Of course.
I've enjoyed.